You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and there's a lot to get to today with the Boston Red Sox finally being disciplined by Major League Baseball. I'm also going to give you something special when I'm done with those two stories. I'm going to leave you in suspense as of right now, but I have to start with the Red Sox. And the absolute slap on the wrist that they got. No, let me rephrase. Slap on the wrist is too nice. They got a rub on the wrist. A slap on the wrist hurts. A rub on the wrist doesn't. Rob Manfred should be absolutely ashamed of himself. Ken Rosenthal and Evan Drellich of The Athletic said that Major League Baseball pinned this all on a rogue employee by the name of J.T. Watkins, who was their video replay system operator. Now, show of hands, and Red Sox fans in particular, would you know J.T. Watkins if he came over to your house and delivered you a pizza? No, you wouldn't. This guy's a nobody. This guy's a schlub. And he's the mastermind? He's the grand poobah of the Red Sox's sign stealing? If the point is that you can't use the replay room to steal signs, then it shouldn't matter who did what. The punishments need to be equal. And there's no question that the Red Sox stole signs. Was it as egregious as what the Astros did? Absolutely not. But the punishments need to be equal. If Alex Cora was fired because of what he did with the Astros, and make no mistake about it, he was fired. It was not mutual. There's no way it was. Then the punishments need to be equal. Major League Baseball basically painted this guy as a rogue employee doing whatever he wanted, and only some of the players used him. Well, doesn't that still fall under the general managers and managers' oversight? There's something in common law called respondeat superior, which basically means that the supervisor can be held responsible for the employee's actions. That's a very elementary definition of respondeat superior, but I'm not a lawyer. You mean to tell me that Watkins was doing all of this without any one of the Red Sox higher-ups knowing about it? If they did know about it, they're complicit. They need to be suspended too. This wasn't a lone man operation. That's ridiculous. That's an insult to our intelligence. I don't give a damn what the commissioner found or didn't find. Use your noodle here. There's no way Cora didn't know. There's no way Dombrowski didn't know. There's no way that every person in the Red Sox dugout and front office didn't know about this. You mean that this guy was just keeping it a secret? That's utter nonsense. Man, I'll tell you, I want to rob a bank with this guy. He's a great patsy. Yeah, don't worry about it, Jacob. I'll take the fall. You can leave me with all the guns. I'll wipe them down. But I'll leave one gun with just my fingerprints on it. Don't worry about that. The getaway vehicle will be in my name. We'll have all my DNA at the scene. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. What happened here was the Red Sox found a willing patsy. I don't know the first thing about this guy, but I'd be willing to bet that he's a big Red Sox fan. And he didn't want to see his team punished like the Astros were. So he took the blame for it. And in exchange for full cooperation, yeah, he's suspended for this shortened season, but he gets to be back next year, not as replay room operator, but in some capacity. The owners of the Red Sox need to open up a Swiss bank account for this guy and pay him millions of dollars. Commissioner Manfred has handled this about as poorly as any commissioner has handled any scandal. This is way worse than Spygate. This is way worse than Deflategate. This is way worse than Tim Donaghy. This is a mess-up of epic proportions. Look, I don't mind the players not being suspended. If you want to give them immunity to get to the bottom of this, that's fine. There's a new CBA coming up, and with the coronavirus requiring extra union and league cooperation, yeah. You don't want bad blood there. So, I can understand that. I thought Bill Ripken made a great point with that when I interviewed him last month. Best interview in the history of this show. You want to call me a Yankee lover for criticizing the Red Sox's punishments as much as I am? Fine. Call me whatever you want, but I'm not being biased here. I believe in the integrity of baseball. I believe in the purity of the game. And when you use electronics to steal signs, I think that's wrong. And I think there should be punishments. And if multiple teams did it, then the punishments need to be the same. You want to tell me that the Red Sox's system wasn't as elaborate as the Astros system? Fine. But that's in essence saying that all you need is a Rube Goldberg machine, and that's where we draw the line. This is nothing for the Red Sox. Oh my God, you lost a second-round pick. Whoop-de-freaking-do. There are a bunch of teams out there that would make that trade-off in a heartbeat. If the point is that you can't use the replay room to steal signs, then the punishments need to be equal. It doesn't matter if you use a trash can or not. You want to tell me that you want to lessen the Astros punishment because it's too excessive for the Red Sox? I can live with that. I disagree with it, but I can live with it. Look, there's no question that the Astros are the big bad villain in this story. The Red Sox are a villain too, but not as much as the Astros. But the punishments need to be equal. That's like saying, if me and J.T. Watkins robbed a convenience store together, I only get 1 year in prison and he gets 10. Well, wait a minute. How does that make any sense? That's ridiculous. And I'll tell you what, I feel bad for the Mets here. If the point is that the replay room is bad, you shouldn't use that to steal signs. Well, the Mets didn't do that. They just happened to hire a player that benefited from it. Was he a ringleader of it? Yes, there's no question. Did he lie to Brody? Probably. But the Mets didn't benefit from it. You want to tell me that they were going to? They were going to implement a system? That's dicey. That's a really dicey proposition. You have to catch them in the act. You can't assume that they're going to. I'm telling you, 30 years from now, when Alex Bregman becomes a manager, there's going to be a report that says that Bregman was an integral part of this sign-stealing thing. Okay, that's it. You're gone. It's a joke. And this is the best part of the whole thing. This is straight from the report. Many players told my investigators that they were unaware that in-game sign decoding from the replay station had been prohibited in 2018 and 2019. Well, wait a minute. So now all of a sudden, ignorance is bliss? I understand no mens rea, which basically means that you need an evil intent to be prosecuted for a crime. But that's like saying that I didn't know it was illegal to bet on games. First up, it's the manager's job, or the GM's job, the owner's job, whoever, it should really be all three of them, to make sure that the players know all these new rules. Second up, there's no way they didn't know. You know how I know that? Because the Red Sox got in trouble for stealing signs against the Yankees with an Apple Watch. I didn't know it was illegal to steal signs with the replay room. Wait a minute. I thought it was just illegal to use an Apple Watch. You're joking. That's like saying, oh, I'm sorry I stole a cookie from the cookie jar. I used my right hand last time. I thought it would be okay if I used my left hand. The leaps of logic that you need to go through to understand this decision is incredible. If the players are to be believed, then Major League Baseball is really at fault here, not for the differing punishments, but for not communicating this clearly. Let's assume for a minute that the Red Sox are telling the truth here. The players really didn't know that that was wrong. Well, then that's a Major League Baseball issue for not communicating that clearly. That's a Players Association issue for not communicating that clearly. I mean, wait a minute. You're telling me it's okay that they didn't know? It's my fault for not communicating this? I knew it was wrong to use that. And the furthest I ever got to playing Major League Baseball was playing Little League. This is a comedy. This is nothing short of a comedy. Shame on Major League Baseball for going along with this. Commissioner Manfred should be ashamed of himself. Okay, so I've been giving you my NFL draft big board in groups of 4. Well, I can't do that in 12 more hours. It would be ridiculous to do that after the draft. So, since we're all in draft mode right now, it's the only thing on, if you're a sports fan. If you've been keeping score, you know that I'm at 41. So we're already in the second round. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to go through numbers 41 to 64 on my 2020 NFL Draft Big Board. They are Josh Uche, Laviska Shenault Jr., Neville Gallimore, Jacob Eason, Ezra Cleveland, Jeff Gladney, Cesar Ruiz, Justin Matabuki, Marlon Davidson, Jordan Elliott, Damon Arnett, AJ Terrell, Jalen Reagor, Zach Moss, Denzel Mims, Jalen Johnson, Jordan Love, Tyler Biadasz, Terrell Lewis, Jason Strobridge, Albert Okwuegbunam, Raekwon Davis, Jeremy Chin, and Isaiah Wilson. Josh Uche has one of the best football IQs in this draft. He has great intangibles, great instincts, a great motor. He has really good pass rushing skills. He had 8.5 sacks last year. I'd love it if the Jets could get him. He's not great against the run, and I don't like his height, weight, speed combination, but all the tools are there for him to become a really, really good player in this league. He just needs the right coach to get it out of him. Laviska Shenault Jr. is a first-round talent. In any other draft, he would be a first-rounder. But because this is such a stacked wide receiver draft class, he's going to fall to the second round. Everyone who you talk to says that this guy could be one of the steals of the draft. The biggest knock on him is his durability. He doesn't have a good height, weight, speed combination, but he does everything else fantastically. He's a tough kid. He has great ball skills. He has great route running ability. Any team that takes this kid is going to get an instant contributor. Neville Gallimore has everything you look for when you talk about defensive tackles. He has a great first step. He's super athletic. He's really fast. The thing is, he's 6'2" and only a shade over 300 pounds. His arms are also really short, less than 33 inches. He's not a traditional nose tackle. He's going to have to rely a lot on skill in the next level. But this kid is a very skilled player, and I think if given the right coaching, he can be a really good player at the next level. I'm really surprised that throughout this process, Jordan Love has been the fourth best quarterback to a lot of people. I think it's Eason. I don't even think it's close. Jacob Eason does everything that Jordan Love does, and then some. They both have cannons for arms, but Eason is a lot more accurate, stands tall in the pocket, 6'6", and he played under two really good coaches, Jim Chaney and Chris Peterson. Jim Chaney's one of the most underrated offensive minds in the nation. He's the guy who helped coach Drew Brees in college. And Chris Peterson, we all know how great he is at Boise State and then Washington. See, the thing with Jordan Love is he has a higher ceiling than Eason. Jordan Love does have, I hate to say this, I really, really do. But he does remind you of Mahomes. He does have that ceiling. But A, no one is going to be Mahomes. And B, Mahomes is a million times more accurate than Love. That's the biggest thing. Jacob Eason is Matt Ryan. I'll take a Matt Ryan on my team. If you can guarantee me that Sam Darnold is going to be Matt Ryan, I'll sign up for that right now. Look, Eason is really raw, and he makes some mistakes. He's not a plug-and-play guy. That's okay. You know what? Give him a chance to learn. I had him going to the Patriots in the mock draft that I did with Nick. That would be the perfect system for him. He'd get to learn under Belichick, learn under McDaniels. If he goes to the Saints, which is where Nick had Jordan Love going, he'd get to learn under Sean Payton and Drew Brees. He just needs a coach that's going to work with him. Ezra Cleveland has probably been the biggest riser on everyone's draft board. This is a kid who was a no-name just 3 months ago. And then all of a sudden he just started climbing and climbing and climbing. And ESPN actually has him as a first-rounder right now. I wouldn't go that far. He's a jack of all trades, master of none. He's a safe pick. I like Cleveland. I think Cleveland can be a good player in this league. He'll never be great. I think the middle of the second round is very fair for this jack of all trades. If Jeff Gladney was 3 inches taller, he'd be a first rounder. Really good athlete, tough guy, smart player, and he's really fast. The thing is, though, he's built like a pencil. 5'10", 191 pounds. The bigger receivers in this league are going to feast on him. The thing that you never want your cornerbacks to do is allow receptions over them. If you get beat downfield, that's one thing. But if you do everything right, you just lose that jump ball, that's what really hurts. Because there's nothing more you can do as a coach and as a player. You want to tell me he's going to be limited to a nickel corner in this league? You certainly can. But I think he has the talent to play outside. He just may need safety help on deep balls. I don't mind that. I can live with that if I'm taking Gladney. Cesar Ruiz is, without question, the best center in this draft. There are a lot of teams that need centers. And teams have a tendency to reach for centers. He may go higher than we think he will. But I'll tell you, Ruiz checks a lot of the boxes. He's not the fastest guy in the world, and, you know, he's going to need his quarterback's help to get the ball out of there really fast. But, man, I'll tell you, he's really strong, has played multiple positions at Michigan. I think Jim Harbaugh did a great job with him. Ruiz has a ton of talent. He could start week 1. Justin Matabuki is an infuriating player. He reminds me a lot of Ross Blacklock. Has all the talent in the world, he just disappears. He has a lot of what I call intelligence issues. He gets in trouble off the field, doesn't use his talent all the time on the field. He's going to need the right coach in his ear, pushing him and motivating him to be the best he can be. But this kid has all the natural gifts you'll look for in a defensive lineman. It's a risky pick, there's no question. But it's one that can pay off in the long run. Marlon Davidson profiles as Leonard Williams to me. A guy who's going to do all the stuff you want that doesn't show up in the box score. You know, he's going to get a good Pro Football Focus grade, but his lack of speed is really going to hurt him. He cannot be an edge rusher. He has to be a defensive lineman, a true defensive lineman. Like down in the trenches, battling with the offensive lineman with his hands. And even then he has short arms, so that's going to hurt him. But the thing that a lot of people really don't like about Davidson is he doesn't have good speed. And they're right. But he's going to do all the stuff you look for that doesn't show up in the box score. You know, the thing with Leonard Williams was, he was taken 6th overall, he should have more sacks. Marlon Davidson, if he's taken in the 2nd round, yeah, he doesn't need to get a bunch of sacks. He can afford to be that advanced metrics darling. I like Davidson, ton of potential, just don't expect too much from him when you look at the box score. Jordan Elliott is another infuriating player. Doesn't play up to his talent and did not produce a lot at Missouri. But he's a scout's dream. Super athletic, great size, great strength. Can play in a 3-4 or a 4-3. You want to call him an advanced metrics darling? You can, but he does have a tendency to take plays off. Again, he's going to need someone in his ear motivating him, but Elliott checks a lot of the boxes you look for as a scout. Damon Arnett and A.J. Terrell, we've spoken about before. I spoke about Arnett in my New York Jets draft preview, which is already posted. I hope you enjoyed it. And A.J. Terrell, Nick really likes. I'll go through him really fast. Arnett is undisciplined, and yeah, that scares some teams off, but checks a lot of the boxes you look for as a corner. Reminds me a lot of Marcus Peters. Him and Christian Fulton are in the same boat. And A.J. Terrell, the biggest knock on him is that he's built like a pencil. He's super lean. Only 195 pounds. I don't like that. I don't like his technique. He needs a ton of development. You can't expect him to contribute right away. Special teams, yes. He'd be a great gunner right away, but not as a cornerback. But in the mid to late 2nd round, you can afford to take a better athlete than player. I thought the 1st round was too high for him, but 2nd round is perfectly fine. Jalen Reagor reminds me a lot of Brandon Marshall, except Marshall was a lot taller. The thing with both of them is they both suffered from the dropsies. They're going to name a candy after Reagor, and they're going to call it Butterfinger. And Bart Simpson's going to endorse it. But the thing that you love about Reagor is he's really fast. He's a guy who you could see burning cornerbacks at the next level on go routes. I think he could also be really good on special teams as a kick or punt returner. Maybe the Marshall comparison isn't the best one when you look at height, weight, speed, but the biggest knock on Reagor to me is the dropsies, and that's Brandon Marshall. Trust me. Saw him play a lot with the Jets. Zach Moss has a lot of talent. Had him on my fantasy football team. He's a bell cow running back. You can put him in week 1 and say to him, you're going to get 20 to 25 touches, and you'd be fine with it as a fan. He's going to make your team instantly better. Yeah, he doesn't have good speed, Yeah, there are medical issues. But he runs hard, tough player, great vision, can push the pile. I think Zach Moss is an instant game wrecker. Denzel Mims is the perfect example as to why this wide receiver draft class is so deep. Prototypical build, good speed, good run after the catch skills, but he gets a case of the dropsies, and he's not as physical as you'd like him to be. But that's okay. You know, I'll take a guy with great route running ability and good speed in the second round. I can work with that. It's not ideal that he has a case of the dropsies. It's why I have him kind of low. But he's a guy with the potential to come in week one and be an instant contributor on offense. Jalen Johnson checks a lot of the boxes. Good height, good length, good speed. Tough guy. He does win those 50-50 balls, which I like a lot. He has good ball skills, good hands. The thing that I don't like about him is he's a stiff player. He doesn't flip his hips well. He's the kind of guy who, if a Robbie Anderson or a Brashad Perryman is lined up against him, they're going to beat him downfield. Johnson has good speed. He doesn't have great speed. There are some people that think that he can't play on the outside. I think he can. You just need to be careful with those go routes, because he can get burned. But you know what? Stiffness and hips, that's the kind of thing that you can work on in the next level. I like taking the chance on Johnson late in the second round. Jordan Love, already spoke about him with Jacob Eason. I really don't want to go too far into him again, so I'll skip over him and move to Tyler Biadasz. Actually, I think it's Biadasz. Now that I'm thinking about it, I apologize if that's wrong. This just goes back to my theory that everyone should be named John Smith. Would make my life a lot easier. He's the guy who everyone pegged early on in this process as the best center in this draft. He was going to be taken high. He started a lot of games at Wisconsin. And I like the fact that he can play one-on-one. He doesn't need guard help. The thing is, though, he's stuck at center. Can't play guard. Doesn't have long arms. He's also not very powerful. He has a tendency to be pancaked a lot, but he does check a lot of the boxes. He's athletic. He's going to start week one, or at least he has that potential. I've actually heard some rumors that he could go to the Packers, which would be great for him because he's a Wisconsin kid. Grew up there, went to school there. Would be a match made in heaven. Terrell Lewis, Nick really liked. That's who he had his team, the Chiefs, taken in our mock draft. I wouldn't go as far as to call him a first-round talent, but if you are a great team, you have the luxury of reaching for needs. And I gotta tell you, Terrell Lewis would fill a huge need for the Chiefs. They need a guy who's going to go in there on third down and get Mahomes back on the field as soon as possible. Terrell Lewis is one of the best third down linebackers in this draft. Really good against the run. Great height, weight, speed combination. 6'5", 262 pounds. And he can move, too. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I don't like his injury history. That's what really scares me about him. But Terrell Lewis, if he lands with the Chiefs, it would be a fantastic fit. Jason Strobridge is really experienced, senior, 3-year starter, great intangibles, great motor, tough kid. The thing that a lot of people don't like about him is he's a defensive tackle who's only 6'4", 275 pounds. I don't mind the 6'4", it's the 275 that really scares me. He's going to need to add a ton of muscle, but I like his quickness. I don't want him to lose that. He was productive at UNC. It's going to be tough to get Strobridge to the next level, but I think he can get there with the right strength and conditioning system. The talent is there. He just needs the right people around him to get it out of him. Albert Okwuegbunam is, without question, the best receiving tight end in this draft. He reminds me a lot of Evan Engram. The thing is, he can't block. He's a terrible blocker. In fact, he's probably one of the worst blocking tight ends I've ever seen. But in this modern NFL where tight ends aren't expected to block as much as they are to receive, they do still need to block, which is why Okwuegbunam is 61st overall on my board. I think Okwuegbunam will be a very productive tight end. He's a guy who you can expect to catch 40 to 50 passes for 550 yards, let's say. And let's say 6 touchdowns. Raekwon Davis reminds me a lot of Steve McClendon. 6'7", 311 pounds, the prototypical nose tackle. He has Damon Harrison-like potential. Neither one of those guys, Harrison or McClendon, can get sacks, but they are premier run stuffers. This guy is going to absorb double teams and hold his gap. Raekwon Davis is the perfect old school defensive tackle. The reason he's so low is because he's not that fast. He doesn't get to the quarterback. And in this modern NFL, that's going to hurt him. But I don't mind having a Steve McClendon on my team. I mean, I really can't. I'm a Jets fan. A lot of people are higher on Jeremy Chin than me. They see him as a surefire early to mid second rounder. And I understand why. He reminds me a lot of the Honey Badger. But I don't like strong safeties. And that's all Chin is. He cannot play free safety. I mean, keep in mind, this guy was playing in Southern Illinois and was getting burned for deep passes a lot. That does scare me. You can even make the argument that he profiles better as a linebacker, and I'd listen to you. He's 6'3", 219. Yeah, he'd need to add some muscle, but the height is there. The speed is there. He's a good tackler. Tough kid. I'm not as crazy about Chin as some people are. I know why people like him. They see him in that Honey Badger role. And I've even heard some people say that he has Jamal Adams type potential. I just don't see that. I think putting a Jamal Adams label on him is really unfair. And again, I'm not crazy about strong safeties. Isaiah Wilson is another offensive tackle similar to Ezra Cleveland, who has skyrocketed up a lot of people's boards. I've even heard that he could go in the late first round. I wouldn't go that far, but I think he'll be taken higher than 64. I won't be crazy about it, though. He's really raw. He had a lot of plays at Georgia that just made you shake your head. What on earth are you doing? He needs a ton of development, but he's a scout's dream. Great height-weight speed combination, 6'6", 350. Great athlete. Good footwork. He can't start week 1, which is why I don't want him in the first round. You want to take him in the early to mid second round, I can live with it. But I'd rather see him go late second round. He just needs a ton of development. Having said that, though, all the raw tools are there. One thing's for sure, it's going to be a fun night tonight. We finally get to watch live sports. I'm going to be glued into the TV tonight. Tomorrow, you're going to get a first round recap. That's going to be the whole show. What else would I talk about? It's going to be so much fun. I've been looking forward to this ever since the pandemic. Thank God that the NFL did not postpone this draft. There was no reason to. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that in the outfield, fly balls are my only weakness.